Well, guys, World Cup qualifying is finally upon us, and it's time to get things started down in South America as CONMEBOL gets the World Cup qualifying process started here in just 3 days' time. With that being said, it's time to give our predictions to see who we think out of this continent we'll see in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Guys, Manny G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, remember, we do have that expanded field coming up in 3 years' time, but things don't look too unfamiliar down in South America. Still the very traditional format, a home and away series, 18 total games for every side, 90 total matches in all. But instead of 4 direct qualifiers going to the World Cup, we've now got 6, with a 7th place position going to an interconfederation playoff with an opportunity to go as well. We're going to go through the entire list today and briefly talk about every single team. No, it won't be in alphabetical order, but it should be easy to follow. On the left-hand side, we'll have our teams that we think will directly qualify with that 7th place prediction spot as well for the Interconfederation playoff, as well as on the right-hand side, the 3 teams that we think will be directly eliminated from the qualifying process. Are the defending champs going to qualify? Absolutely. No problem at all. This team went 11-6-0 during the qualifying process for the 2022 campaign, a plus 19 goal differential. They had 6 draws total, 3 at home, 3 away. Hopefully they'll be able to clean that up during this process next time round. The big question for me is how many of these guys will we see from the 2022 roster in 2026? I feel like it'll be a decent amount. Hopefully they'll be able to stay healthy as well. We won't see any major injuries. And also the big question is, will Messi be involved? How much will he be involved? I think the fact that he's moved to Miami, playing well in the MLS, hopefully if he continues to stay fit and look strong in 3 years' time, he'll at least be on this roster. It'll be interesting to see what type of a role he plays or how much he's involved, but still something to keep an eye on, of course, down the road. He is already selected for the roster for these first 2 qualifying games coming up later this week. Next up, we have the 5-time champions Brazil, who went 14-3-0 in qualifying for the 2022 campaign. They had a plus 35 goal differential in this roster, both with its current list and recent call-ups. It's just littered with talent. Keep in mind, Brazil have never missed a World Cup finals. They've qualified all 22, and I don't expect that to change this time round. Remember, they also like playing on North American soil, as they were the 1994 Men's World Cup champions, defeating Italy in the Rose Bowl. First team out is Bolivia, and it's a shame because the last time this federation qualified for a World Cup was the 94 edition on North American soil, but they had 15 points in this previous qualification process for the 2022 World Cup with a negative 19 goal differential, and really one of their only big wins was against Uruguay at home. Other than that, it was a lot of points trying to be picked off against teams like Venezuela and Paraguay. They had an early exit in the group stage in the 2021 Copa America, and Marcelo Moreno was fantastic for them in qualifying, scoring 10 goals and leading the way for the entire continent. But keep in mind, they only scored 23 goals in total, so just a little under half in that statistic, and I just really don't see where they're going to be able to find enough, both home and away, to get the job done. Moving on, we have Uruguay, who finished 3rd in the qualifying process for the 2022 campaign. They went 8-4-6. However, their goal differential was straight at 0, which means they had some really great results, but had some very disappointing performances when it came to losses as well. Remember, they did get bumped out in the group stage for the 2022 World Cup Finals campaign. Suarez had himself 8 goals during the World Cup qualification process. But a big question for me is, with some of these aging stars, how much will they be involved here over the next 3 years? Obviously, though, Uruguay has some great talent coming up. They are the defending U23 World Cup champions, which they won back in Argentina earlier this year. So it'll be interesting to see the development of those players moving forward and how much they impact this roster going down the line. On to Venezuela, who we do have as the next team eliminated in the qualification campaign. They've never qualified for a men's World Cup, and unfortunately, I don't think that they'll start now. However, this federation does have some promising young talent, but the grind that it takes over the next couple of years during this 18-game stretch, I do believe will still be too much for this roster to get the job done. They only had 10 points in the last qualification process with a negative 20 goal differential. I do believe this team could pick up more than 10 points possibly in the table, but I just don't see them bouncing over 3 different teams to be able to get an automatic spot, or at least into that 7th position to get to an interconfederation playoff. Up next, we've got Peru, who last qualified for the World Cup in 2018. During the 2022 qualification process, they got the playoff position for CONMEBOL, but lost to Australia 5-4 in a penalty shootout, and really looked disappointing in that game a bit, but still a really solid run for them. They were just 2 points shy of Ecuador, who took the last direct spot from CONMEBOL to qualify for the World Cup. They had a really nice run in the 2021 Copa America, finishing fourth, losing out in the third place match there. I do feel like this Peruvian side has enough talent and a decent amount of pace as well that they will be able to get the job done. I'm not sure that they'll totally finish fourth in the table, but I do feel like that they will grab one of those top 6 spots to automatically qualify. Colombia's up next, and we've got them moving on as one of the direct qualifiers. They missed the playoff for the 2022 campaign by just a point behind Peru, which was unfortunate because they had a loss to Peru 1-0 later in that qualifying calendar with just a few games remaining that really set them back. And unfortunately, they weren't able to recover in time. The last time this Colombian team qualified for the World Cup was in 2018. Remember, they lost to England in the round of 16 during a penalty shootout. I do feel confident that Colombia will be able to get the job done. However, they do have some aging talent as well, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that over the next 3 years. And don't forget the magical run that this team had in the 2014 campaign, getting to the quarterfinals. James Rodriguez winning the Golden Boot, and unfortunately just getting knocked out by their South American foes, Brazil, in that quarterfinal matchup. But I do feel like Colombia will be able to get through here for 2026. And for the last direct qualifying spot to make it to the 2026 World Cup, we do have Ecuador, who again just happened to have the last direct qualifying spot for the 2022 campaign as well. Believe me, I'm not totally confident in this decision, but I'm going to go with it. Keep in mind, Ecuador will start off the qualification process for 2026 with -3 points, as they did falsify, I believe, documents for a player through the last cycle, and they are being punished for that. So while everybody starts at 0 points in the table right now, Ecuador currently are in last with -3 points, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I feel like in South American qualifying, again, every single point matters. So to start off with -3 is certainly disappointing, and they've already got a bit heavier or a steeper hill to climb. They had a disappointing Copa America in 2021, only picking up 3 points in the group stage and then getting thrashed by Argentina in the quarterfinals. Inter Valencia was phenomenal during the 2022 World Cup. And again, this team was pretty close to making it to the round of 16, but unable to get by Senegal to do so. I really feel like I need to see this team be able to score some more goals other than Inter Valencia. Hopefully Michael Estrada or some others will get involved and help carry some of that weight as well. But again, I think it's going to be a really tight battle down there in the middle of the table for these last few spots. But I feel like Ecuador will be able to do just enough to get over the line and secure themselves a spot in North America for 2026. Next to last team on this list is Paraguay, and we do have them as the final team being eliminated during this qualification process. During the 2022 campaign, they had just 16 points, a -14 goal differential, and really struggled to win games at home. They had a lot of draws that I think were very disappointing for them that could have helped them a little bit in that qualification process. I don't know if that would have still put them in a playoff spot, but I do feel like for Paraguay, if they want to have any shot this time, they've got to pick up more wins at home. They cannot continue to go on the road just picking up points in front of their home fans. I definitely think that's going to be very important for them, as well as trying to keep that goal differential statistic down as well. I think that could come into play later on as this table continues to unfold in the next couple of years. Remember, Paraguay last qualified in 2010. They had that fantastic run to the quarterfinals before they got bumped out by Spain. David Villa scoring a goal, I believe, in the 83rd minute to win that one and send them to the semis. But Paraguay had themselves a chance in that game as well. Both teams missed a penalty. Xavi Alonso for Spain and Oscar Cardoza as well. So again, Paraguay had a chance to maybe beat arguably the best international team we've ever seen of all time in a quarterfinal back over a decade ago. So we'll have to wait and see if this team can possibly get it done with the extra teams directly qualifying this time around. But unfortunately, right now, I just don't have them going through. And for the final team on this list, Chile, who had 19 points in the 2022 qualification process. They've got some aging stars as well, and I'm not 100% sure that they'll be able to get the job done, even in a playoff, to get to North America for 2026, but I do have them in that position with the possibility to do so. Remember, this team won Copa America in 2016, a fantastic run there. Of course, though, that was 7 years ago. A lot has changed since then, and we haven't seen this team in a World Cup since 2014. When they got bumped out in the round of 16 to Brazil in a penalty shootout. They did have a really solid draw against Argentina in qualification for the 2022 campaign, but then they backed it up with a draw at home against Bolivia, and they just cannot have that kind of inconsistency. Again, I know how difficult these games are, but again, considering how important games are at home, I feel like you've got to be able to take up as many of those points as possible and then just look to scrape by when you can on the road. We'll have to see if Chile are able to do that or not. I do, again, have them in the playoff spot, but we'll have to wait and see who they could potentially face as to whether or not they've even got a legitimate shot to get through in that playoff position. Guys, as always, thank you again so much for watching. Thank you for the support. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And please let us know down in the comments your own predictions as well as who you are supporting through the South American qualification campaign. We've got the games for match day 1 and 2 coming up later this week. We'll have predictions on those games for you here in the next couple of days. And keep in mind, match day 3 and 4 will be in the middle of October as well. And along with that, plenty of more qualification beginning around the rest of the world for a lot of different events as well, not just the World Cup. So we're going to keep you involved in all of that as soon as we can. But guys, make sure you have a blessed day, and we will hopefully see you soon. Peace.